This is a show that will blow your mind, but it might not. It all depends. Do you like breakfast and a book with a friend?
Hello, peoples of the internets. I'm I'm live on Facebook, doing this thing, waiting for people to show up so I can interact with this sweet um, book talking. And when we have sweet book talking time, and waiting for people to show up time, it is time to spin on the chair. Spinning on the chair is great. Spinning on the chair will bring you to the top. That was my imitation of what's that band? Du hast mich laut. Du hast mich beglückt. I can't remember the name of the band. Maybe they're just called Du hast. Du hast? I don't remember. So today, on breakfast and a book, we're going to talk about a book, and we're going to talk about breakfast. You guys, I just upped my oatmeal game. I was just putting brown sugar and butter, living that simple oatmeal life. But no more, you guys. I have put apples in my oatmeal. Oh man, we gotta take a look at this. It is pretty exciting. What isn't exciting about apples in oatmeal? Hey, so let's do a little turn around here so we can look at this. Bam. Let's see. Boop boop boop. Can you see the apples? There's an apple. Oh, glorious. So we got apples in the oatmeal. That adds nutrition, right? You can't just have sugar and oatmeal all the time. Adds taste too. What do you know? Had to fancify it on up. So, I hope you're all doing well out there in the internet worlds, in this pandemic. It may be a while that we're, stuck at home, guys. So be prepared for that sort of thing. Today's book. Oh, let's have another bite. Okay. Apple. Great idea. So today's book is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. I should be getting my fan for my computer so that you can see this correctly in the next like a week or two, and then it'll be all fancy on the laptop, looking a little bit nicer, and you'll be able to read this a little bit easier. But this is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. Someone mentioned the most boring series of all time. I will admit to you, it is a long read, and you definitely have to delve in there to get through it. But I actually kind of like this series. Although there is, it's a lot of like character work. So anyways, let's read the back. A war fueled by the dark power of sorcery is about to engulf the peaceful land of Osten Ard. For Prester John, the High King, slayer of the dread dragon Shurikai, lies dying, and with his death, an ancient evil will at last be unleashed as the Storm King, undead ruler of the elvish-like Scythi, seek to regain his lost realm through a pact with one human royal blood. Then, driven by spell-inspired jealousy and hate, prince will fight prince, while around them the very land begins to die. Only a small scattered group, the League of the Skull, recognizes the true danger awaiting Osten Ard, and to Simon, a castle scullion, unknowingly apprenticed to a member of this league, will go to the task of spearheading the quest for the solution to a riddle that offers the only hope of salvation, a riddle of long-lost swords of power, and a quest that will see him fleeing and facing enemies straight out of a legend maker's worst nightmares. Legend maker's worst nightmares. Legend maker is an author, if you think about it, right? Anyways. So as you can see, very long book. One of the things I like about this book, though, is it's an underdog story. This guy is a guy who washes dishes, and then he's smart, and uh, creative, and someone sees that in him and scoops him up and starts bringing him involved with this huge mess, this political intrigue. Goes through like tons of twists and turns, and yes, there's a lot of washing dishes and a lot of walking through forests and cities, fantasy cities that are, I will admit to you, yes, there's a lot of scripting, and if you're into that sort of thing, you will enjoy this book. If you like think that that's too much, you will not enjoy this book. I will admit that to you. This type of book, not for everybody. It's definitely dense, and it's definitely has a little bit of a slower plotting plot movement. Once the plot gets going, there are some twists and turns, but definitely a slower moving book. I will admit it to you. So we'll open up to the middle somewhere. Let's see. Someone suggested that I read from the beginning of a chapter, so let's do that. All right, 26, In the House of Glow. One of my favorite things, but does the Dragonbone Chair spin? Haha, good question, Janet. No. I believe the Dragonbone Chair just sits there being Dragonbone, so definitely not as exciting as my zebra-colored chair that someone tried to throw away on the side of the road, and I picked up and cleaned thoroughly to make sure that I could sit upon it. So let's read this chapter here. In the House of Glow. It has an umlaut on it, so I think that's Greer. I can't remember. I took German for 4 years, and I only know how to say I live around the house and you're an effing slut, which is pretty sad, really, if you think about it. So, the figure that stood framed in the warm light of the doorway did not move or speak as the companions mounted the long board bridge that slanted from the doorstep to the lake's edge. As Simon followed Benedict up, carefully cradling the child Lilith, he could not help wondering why this Glow woman did not have an entranceway of a more permanent nature, something at least with a rope handrail. His weary feet were having trouble keeping to the narrow bridge. I suppose she doesn't get many visitors, for one thing, he thought, looking out across the rapidly darkening forest. Benedict pulled up short of the front step and bowed, almost bumping Simon off into the still waters. Velada Glow, he announced. Benibis Minta Hakis request your aid. I bring travelers. That is a name and a half. Binbines Minta Hokis. It's spelled Binbines Mintahokis. So I had to make up that word. And don't we do that a lot with names? Like, just read a name in a book and you're like, this is the name. For instance, I was not right about Hermione. Nope. Hermione. That is what I read in my brain the entire time I read the series when it first came out. Did not know it was Hermione until the movie came out. And then I was like, oh, I've been saying that name wrong the entire time. Hey, Philip. How's it going? My friend Philip says hi. The figure in the doorway stepped back, leaving the way open. Spare me the Nabanai constructions, Benedict. It was a harshly musical voice, heavily and strangely accented, but unmistakably a woman's. I knew it was you. Kantaka has been here an hour. At the shore end of the ramp, the wolf pricked her ears forward. Of course you're welcome. Do you think I would deny you? So, it's a traditional fantasy. I actually enjoy the writing. So, let's see here. I love when they explain clothes. That's always fun, huh? So listen to this. She was dressed in a rough robe of dun cloth, clumsily tied with a belt. Her height was somewhere between Simon's and the troll's. Her face, wide and sun-browned, seamed with wrinkles at both the eyes and mouth. Her dark hair was shot all through with gray and cut short so that she looked almost like a priest. But it was her eyes that caught him, round, heavy-lidded yellow eyes with large, jet-black pupils. They were old, knowing eyes, as though they belonged to some ancient bird of the heights, and there was a power behind them that fixed him in his tracks. She seemed to measure him completely, to turn him inside out, and shake him like a sack all in a moment. That's pretty creative writing, if you don't say so myself. You're portraying a person's face. That was painting a picture. You could see the wrinkles on her eyes, but then the eyes are yellow and intense with dark black pupils. You really saw that. That's good writing. No matter how you put it. Now, Tad Williams has written a bazillion books. This is book one of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I have some other Tad Williams books, and I also have some Tad Williams books that I lent to people that I will never see again because I do not know where those people are anymore. Janet says, about the only German I remember, meine Überschusche nicht Finder. Nick Finder. Meine Überschuh Nick Finder. You can't find your... I don't remember what Überschuh is. What's Überschuh, Janet? Ik wohne um die Ecke is how you say I live around the corner. Nicht is no, so or not. I'm assuming Finder might be fine, but it might not be. Who knows? So basically, this is your traditional fantasy. I can't find my overshoes. Okay, your overshoes. I don't even know what overshoes are, but that's great. So I was close to it. Hey, I can read it a little bit, and I kind of sounded like I can say it. Meine Überschuhe nicht Finder. Leonard, how do I say your name, Leonard? Leonard? I'm going to just call you Leon, because you're Leon now. Hello. But this book is definitely dense. As you can see, it is not a light read. This is not a chill out and read in an afternoon type of book. If you really want to do things, you can learn how to say all the words, because he's got words and phrases in the back that mean things, and pronouncing how to say words and people's names and all of the characters. So people, all of these. This is like, this whole 7 or 8 pages is just like the names of people and stuff like that. So basically what I'm saying, guys, I started reading and then I got distracted because the end is kind of interesting. But like I said, he's got like 10 or 12 different books. It's a dense read. Dense. Lots of pages. Let's see how many pages we got going on here. 780. So it's a 780 page book. That's about twice your average book. Average book's about 300, something like that. Are you day drinking? LOL. No, I don't drink alcohol. I'm very boring when it comes to drinking. This is iced tea. This is oatmeal. So, except when I learned, Janet says, except when I learned it was Gummerschuhe, which is rubber shoes, which I think are overshoes, like to keep the rain out. Useful sentence to know. That is definitely a useful sentence to know. Philip says, say something in French, Ron, swallow, or Cajun. Okay, we'll use a French accent. You know what we'll do? We'll read from the book with a French accent. We're just going to open up somewhere. Juriquet laughed, a hissing sound was strangely cheering. With not a hint of sincerity. In that moment's time I felt a fierce, sudden liking for him. I do not know how to speak French. I just say a terrible accent and everyone gets offended. Offended. That's terrible. I apologize. That is my French accent, you guys. I should probably try to learn how to do a French accent. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but my hair is looking fantastic today. I don't know what happened. I wore a hat for the morning part, and then I took the hat off, and this is what my hair looks like. It's a little long over here. Oh, I don't know if you noticed, but I trimmed the beard, guys. I realized I was looking like a scraggly, square-bearded freak, and decided maybe it was time to trim that a little bit up. Gonna do a haircut live. Yeah, you guys. On Facebook, at some point, if you are bored out of your mind, I will babble at you while also cutting my hair. So that could be entertaining. By the way, I always cut my own hair. Thank you, that made my day. You're welcome, Philip. Philip said that my amazing French accent made his day. I mean, I am very impressive when it comes to French accents specifically. Um, it's basically my specialty. Everyone who's French hears that accent and goes, "Wow, I thought you were actually speaking French." No, like gibberish French, but French. Um, yeah, I'm gonna cut my hair. Now some people would be like, "That's crazy," but here's the thing: I've cut my hair forever. I'm a poor person, and every time your choices when you're a poor person to cut your hair is you go to Fantastic Sam's or Super Cuts or whatever there is now, and then they do a terrible job cutting your hair, and you're unhappy with it, and it grows out, and you're like, well, all right, this is fine, I guess. Or you cut your own hair, and it looks okay, and you're okay with it. The back obviously is tough. Ariel, my lovely lady, will probably help me trim out the back, because you guys, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a neck beard. It's like going down my back. What is this? I have a mullet, and I don't even mean to have a mullet. It just grew that way. I naturally grow that way. I'm like Joe Dirt with the bad facial hair, only it's just a mullet. Anyways, that's what's going on, guys. I do suggest you read Tad Williams if you're okay with dense books. I will admit to you, these are dense books. These are not light reads. And there is some points where he's building character a lot. I am not a huge Stephen King fan, for instance. A lot of what Stephen King does is paint you characters in a very specific light, and then describes their clothes, describes a blade of grass, and not a lot of plot movement. And I'm usually not a huge fan of that. Tad Williams is a little faster paced to me than Stephen King is, but this book is definitely a thick, long read. And if you're into it, try it out. Tad Williams has a ton of books. I like his writing. I think he does a good job describing things, definitely paints you a picture. And if you're into that, you'll have a good time. So I guess that's about it, guys. Thank you for listening to me, as always. Did you ever read that sci-fi series book, Tiger, Cats, and Space, or something like that? I did not. That sounds amazing. I would love to read a series of books called Tiger, Cats, and Space. That sounds amazing. Leon, you're going to be on Leon today. His name is spelled Leonid. Yurovich. I assume that's Russian. Leonid. That's probably like this. Leonid. You say it like Dolph Lundgren. Leonid. I assume that's his face he makes. Leonid. Well, hopefully I've offended everybody with my terrible accents. You do not know. I know not how to make the accents. I'm not good at it. I just make strange European accent. I drink my tea. I eat my oatmeal. I talk to you about thick-ass fantasy series books that have elves, dragons, magic, sorcery, and all the important stuff that you want. I like when there's magic in my books, in my fantasy books. If I'm reading a fantasy book and there's no magic in it, I'm not reading a fantasy book. I'm reading a medieval tale. So give me some friggin' magic in my books. George R. Martin. Yeah, that's right. I called you out. There's like no magic in those books. Although maybe there's magic later on. I got through the first two and I was like, I don't know. There's no magic. When is magic happening? There's only a little bit of dragons. Give me some magic. Complicated plot, sure. Nothing wrong with that stuff. I loved the show a lot. One of the few times in my life that I liked the TV show better than the book. I know. Sorry, guys. It's the truth. I liked the Game of Thrones TV show better than the books. I just did. Should I have? Probably not. I know George R. R. Martin's technically a great writer. He is. He is a fantastic writer. He really does paint you a picture. The plot movement is fast-paced. It's moving along. There's a bazillion characters you have to try to keep track of. Their names are very close. But there's not a lot of magic in those books. And I'm not reading fantasy books for no magic. Here's an idea: thick books with thick oatmeal. Yeah, that's what I got. That's what we're doing. We got thick oatmeal. We got thick books. We read them at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but I actually really love to eat and read. That makes me very happy. God, that's good. Put apples in your oatmeal. Cut them up real small. Put them in there while it's cooking so that it warms up a little bit and also blends into the oatmeal with a little bit of taste. You know what I'm saying? Same with the Brady Bunch. I preferred the show to the book. Ethan. Was there a Brady Bunch book? Now I gotta know. I feel like there's no Brady Bunch book, but if there was, holy shit, because that could be a good book. You know? If you think about the Brady Bunch, you guys, by the way, the Brady Bunch, that's a pretty amazing show in a lot of ways. Like two families coming together who are separate. One's not really the dad, one's not really the mom to some of the kids. Obviously, they didn't do divorce because they couldn't do that back in the day, but pretty interesting. So, anyways, you guys, like I said, I hope you're out there supporting art, supporting reading. Ethan said, no, there was no book. I had apples in my hot cereal last night. See? People know apples in the hot cereal. Bam. All right, sorry. I get easily distracted. I'm trying to keep up with comments. I appreciate everybody who's watching. I hope you're entertained and kept a little less bored for this 15 to 20 minutes when I do this. And I hope I'm also inspiring you to check out some authors. And maybe if you don't read the authors I read, I'm just inspiring you to get out and read some books, not leave. Stay in your house. Be careful. Get them from the internet. Read them either when they get to you in the physical form or when they're on your Kindle or app, whatever thing you use to read books. Do that, guys, because it's important. Reading is great. My buddy Ed Greer said something very interesting, which I think really illustrates why I think reading is so important. And it's because of vocabulary. Because he says, the more words you know, the more feelings you can feel. Think about that. Because you can't describe or really know what you're feeling if you don't have a way to do that. Reading books, learning about different cultures, learning about the different characters in each thing and how they feel about things will help you feel all the things you feel too. It's pretty amazing. Leonid said, I was amazed how they were able to kill lead and main characters in Game of Thrones and people got shocked and surprised every time. I know. You'd think they would have gotten used to it because, you know, once the most likable main character is killed in the first couple episodes, you go, what the? So, yeah, you'd think you would not be surprised then. I would agree. But, you know, I just like that. I do like that they did that. I do like that they were like, the main characters are like expendable because life is expendable. I do like a lot of what the Game of Thrones was trying to do, was trying to tip things on its head, trying to take some of those tropes and throw them out against the wall and light them on fire, which is a good thing to do a lot of times, especially for TV, I would say. I enjoy some. I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoy some tropes in fantasy books. I like them. I like a warrior with a dark past. I like an underdog who finds that he's skilled with a certain type of magic, and through hard work he becomes a successful wizard or mage that helps the land. He becomes important when he was just a nobody. I love stuff like that. In a lot of ways, that's like the American dream, right? We're all, especially creative types out here, we're all trying to make something interesting happen. Yeah, Janet says, nah, you expected it after they killed Ned in the first season. You dreaded it, really. Yeah, you were always, if you were like, oh no, I care about this character, they're for sure gonna kill him. But I don't think that's a bad thing to do. I think it's you got to create some intense and some tenseness, yeah, some stress while you're watching TV. It's really interesting. The first book I wrote, I wrote a fantasy novel. If you guys ever want to read it, you can. I'm not doing any more edits on it because I made the character a little too powerful. There wasn't enough stress or breakdown or any of the stuff that you need to make a good story. Because I just made like my own, like, what if I had cool superpowers and do cool stuff to help people book, which is fun, but not exactly a way to keep people interested, because people love when things go wrong with your main character. That just has to happen. So you can't make them too powerful. You can't make them flawless, of course. You got to put flaws on them, and then you've got to put them through the ringer, so that by the end of the book, when they succeed, if they succeed, then you feel like, oh wow, they did it through all of this insanity, everything against them. There's no way they can win. People are dying. They want to prevent it. They feel guilt and blah 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 blah. And then bam, they succeed despite all the odds. That makes that success that much better. And Janet just said, yeah, it's good to keep people anxiously reading and watching. So there you go. So that's what I'm suggesting you guys do. Get out there, read the books, feel a little bit stressed, and then feel relieved at the end. Beautiful. Mwah. So if you want to support me doing my other stuff, check out Nerd Goat Podcast, where Ed Greer, producer Bill, and I talk to people about their favorite fictional character of all time, nerd greatest of all time. Sometime we haven't had guests in the last few weeks because it's just too tough to get someone who can record their own audio, talk about a character through Zoom or Skype, and actually like make it work well. So easier just to do the three of us or the two of us. We've talked about John McClane, Moon Knight. We just did Ghost Rider. So if you guys want to check out some deep dives on those characters, where we talk about what we liked about them, what we didn't like about them, and kind of like why we got into these characters when we were young, then yeah, you could enjoy that. Ethan says, thanks for the great show. You're welcome. Leonid, we're not talking about Star Wars, but we could talk about it later. What else? Oh, yeah, if you want to support financially, we have Nerd Goat Podcast Patreon. So go to patreon.com/nerdgoatpodcast, and you can look at what we got. We got extra podcasts where it's a little more personal with me, Ed, and Bill, from talking about AI to doing weird voices. We even talked about Saturday morning cartoons. One time we talked about what we would like to be, what we would have liked to be when we were growing up, when we were kids. So that was interesting because none of us ended up where we thought we were going to be, and they were pretty entertaining. And then on top of that, we're always putting out new podcasts, and you have a backlog of stuff that you can check out for $5 a month just for that. If you want to get art from Ron and Ed and Bill, art that's great from Ed and Bill, and art from Ron that is like, that's me, not great, pretty bad, but getting better, then you can sign up for the $7 one. We won't be sending out stuff for that one for a while, so you might want to do the $5 tier for now, and maybe move up to the $7 until we are allowed to print things out, go to Kinko's, and etc. Because I do not have a printer right now. Hey! And then also check out Reboot It on YouTube's. We're having one come out today. I believe it's our Honey, I Shrunk the Kids episode, and it is gonna be phenomenal. So we rebooted Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the way we would like to do it, and I think it was good. So you guys should check that out. I do love Star Wars, Leonid, and we'll talk about that later. I'm not talking about that today. We're talking about Dragonbone Chair and the other stuffs. That's what we're doing. Don't you argue with me on the internet, peoples. We don't argue. Just kidding. I guess that's everything. We've got to reboot it. Oh, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ron Swallow. You just look up Ron Swallow on YouTube. You can watch this again if you're watching it right now, or you can watch some of the other episodes and look at some of the different characters I talked about. And at some point, Ariel and I are going to do our Positive Spin show, where basically Ariel and I talk about what we liked from a movie that most people don't like. The idea being that if you've ever made even a video, you know how much hard work goes into making a sketch that you film or any of those type of things. And while I do believe that people deserve criticism for things that they make, because they do, like when something's not great, it's fine to talk about it. I do also think that people deserve praise when they make something and that there's good parts of that things. So the idea behind Positive Spin is that what we'll be doing is we'll be talking about the positive aspects of something that most people didn't like. So we will be watching possibly bad movies, but watching them to go, hey, look at this cool scene. This scene was lit great. It was beautiful. This line was delivered fantastically. You know, this character really shined in this movie because they were funny, you know, or whatever. Basically, finding the good in art and trying to bring some positive thought and ideas to things, because at this point, I think we need more of that. There's negativity everywhere, and while I don't have a problem with people expressing their emotions and negativity, that stuff is important too. I totally think it'd be great to focus on some positive things. So that is the end, guys. Thank you as always for listening to another and watching another episode of Breakfast and a Book with Swallow. That's me. Bye, guys.